go begging to Pinedale and Blue Water and Oakwood and, you know, the B&B or whoever to please, you know, crop up a free meal, free accommodation. And you could only go back to that well so many times. So I'd like to sort of open our eyes to those possibilities moving forward. I think that tourism services is a great investment in terms of partnering with us going forward. You know, I hesitate to think of, if we didn't have the money to do this, if we weren't doing this, what would it cost our community and our businesses not to be represented? I think now more than ever, it's really important that we continue at the very least to do what we're doing. RTO 1 and 4 are both bringing in e-commerce-based websites where they are talking about packaging the experience. We need to be able to respond to that. We need to be on that stage. And if we're not, we're going to get lost in the plethora of choices that an Ontario tourist has when they're out spending dollars. So I sit here before you once again, asking for money in support of tourism services, not of the chamber, tourism services. And I'm hoping that you will want to partner with us once again moving forward. And I'm sure you have questions.
Well, I do, and I mean, and I'm conscious of the time. And I know that we have a budget meeting next Tuesday. I guess I've been doing a lot of thinking about the dollars to the chamber, and I wasn't jumping for joy last year when we handed you $13,000. And I guess having gone to that Ontario Southwest conference for 2 days blew me away. And looking at the Ontario Southwest website, talking to a bunch of people, talking to Marshall Kern, who's the chair of the TSL board, to Marlene, and having lots of conversations over this last little while. We weren't really present there a lot in the website launch. Lambton County and us, and I guess it just hit home to me that we desperately have to partner and partner better. I know we've got an economic development task force that's going to meet and work, but we're not going to get reports until the fall. In the meantime, we've got to be good partners. We have to be good partners with you guys. We have to be good partners with TSL. TSL has to be good partners with RTO 1 and it's N4 all over the place. I quite a couple more things I want to say. We really do have to work as partners, and I guess when we talked about budget this year, because we have had that conversation, and some of us we were grumpy that day, and a couple of because some of us said, well, okay, we didn't get a report from you. We should have had a report, business plan, all of these things. And then there were others like me saying, well, you guys don't know anything that goes on south of Klondike Road, and there's all these wonderful experiences. So I'm whining just the same as we all whine, and we all point the fingers instead of partnering. And so I guess that's why we have to have this conversation about funding and what exactly it is that we fund. But this is our primary lure to this area, this experience. And this is what draws people here, and it's the work that these folks do that help to draw people here. But then, what these folks can do for all the rest of us is promote those complementary experiences and the jewels that we do have, both north of Klondike Road and south of Klondike Road. So I really want us to have this conversation next Tuesday and talk about just how we can maybe partner a little bit better, give better direction. Because I went back and I looked at our minutes of that meeting. We didn't say anything about business plans. We didn't say anything. Maybe we did, but it wasn't reflected in the minutes. And then I asked the clerk, can we find the the letter that we sent these guys, saying, we want this, we want this, we want this, we want this. All it was, here you go, there's $13,000, Bob's your uncle. And
Fight us with receipts.
yeah,
which we did,
so,
yeah.
so we didn't give you that direction, so this is a conversation I would like to have next Tuesday around funding for the chambers.
Councillor Underwood.
If only if Councillor Illman is fully finished. Are you finished? You have anything else to say? I wouldn't want to step on any of her time or anything anyway. You done? Okay.
I have addressed you as, it's your turn to
It's
speak,
your
Mark.
turn.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, we will be looking at it in budget. I had a few complaints last year in my ward. Specifically, some businesses asked to put some stuff in the Tourism Information Centre in Grand Bend. They were told no, because they weren't members of the chamber up there. Now, if we are going to be giving out monies which are from the ratepayers throughout Lambton Shores, there will be strings attached.
Councillor Scott.
I'm really excited to see two things. This is a cute book. It's really, I mean, I've thumbed through it because we got it early and I was able to have some time. I love the code on there. One of the things when I went into, before we got the tours, or the economic development started, I was in talking to Councillor Russell, and Lori at the museum said, everybody has to have this code. So any businesses out there, you have to put a code on. Second of all, I think what you've done is you've included a lot more different things in this. You've expanded it. I noticed that there's a lot more about forest in here and some of the surrounding areas, and there's a fair number of people who've advertised. So I think it's a great book. And part of once we get this economic development committee going was to have you guys come in and do a presentation to us on thinkings and thoughts and stuff like that. So I'm very pleased to see it.
Deputy Mayor Day.
Yes, through you too. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. I noticed that your report doesn't address your revenues at all. And I'm just wondering if before Tuesday you could report to us on what your revenues have been to offset these costs through membership and advertising and grants and things like that. And also, what you anticipate your potential increased revenues would be if you were able to institute the Weberations Initiative, which sounds excellent. I'm really pleased to do that. And just one more thought too is, we have this political football of the county, as you know, with DSL. And we now handle 100% of the operating costs, almost, because there's very little grant monies coming in, very little partnership with the community, very little additional funds that are sourced there. So how could you assure us that if we provided some type of operating costs, this would never get to the point that things are getting financially out of control, that become dependent on the municipality? I'm much more comfortable with assisting with some capital investments that are individual projects as opposed to assisting with operating costs, which I foresee are best sourced from the businesses in the community. So how could you assure us that things will always stay within a check and balance for us if we provide money to an operating project?
I think the important thing to note is that revenue that the chamber has is membership, and it's for chamber services, not tourism services. And in fact, what we did in August of 2011, we went and we increased our membership fees. And I had some very heated conversations with a number of businesses who said, I didn't mind donating to tourism services, but now that you've increased my membership, I have to really think, because you guys aren't doing enough for me, and I'm paying you to do it. So the membership, like the revenue that we have, and it is the only revenue, is supposed to be for chamber services. It's supposed to be for networking events. It's supposed to be getting members, talking to members. It's supposed to be bringing in programs within businesses that will help our businesses buy from our local businesses together. And there are businesses that we have who don't feel that tourism services should be taking the amount of money from us that it actually is, because they feel that they shouldn't be paying for that. So, we have to walk a fine line too, because, I made some big promises to those people this year. I said, we will have